the first story today. Man apologizes for making us all have stupid passwords. Have you heard of Bill Burr?
I don't know about Bill Burr.
Bill Burr, the comedian, stand-up comedian. Oh, my joke's not working because it's a different Bill Burr. Dude, you got Netflix. We talked about this in a previous show. Bill Burr's Paper Tiger is a very good show.
Bill Burr. I'm trying to think if I know
Bill
the guy.
Burr, bald comedian. This dude.
I have
American.
no idea who Bill Burr is.
Bill Burr's good. And he's got a good podcast as well, which is really like, it's interesting because he's like very funny, like on like stand-up comedian, but his podcast is super chilled out and very good. So anyway, this Bill Burr is a different Bill Burr, and I'm like, it's not a super common name, but anyway, he's basically, I've gone about this all wrong. Long passwords, right? I feel like since I had passwords, people were like, oh yeah, you know, you've got to have like a capital letter, use some punctuation, use big characters, small characters, numbers. Dude, some websites, I swear, I think Apple's one of these. They're like, yeah, you got to have a capital letter and you got to have like a number and
a special character.
And it's got to be like
lowercase, uppercase.
Yeah. And it's like,
can't,
and then you'll
can't be the
type it
same
in.
as it was.
No, and I'm like, I'm just going to be, every time I log into this, I'm going to be resetting my password, aren't I?
Yep.
And I use this password manager like Dashlane and stuff, who actually sponsor one of my other shows. And they do this kind of stuff, which makes it a lot easier. But it is a pain in the ass.
I literally, for my iTunes password, I reset my password every single time.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Like with your phone, it's fairly easy to do. You sort of just go, I forgot my code, and then you can put your fingerprint on it, and that's fine. However, if I have to do anything on my computer, I'm screwed.
Yeah, it's unbelievably painful. All of this is entirely unnecessary. So all of these complicated passwords, right? They're thanks to this dude called Bill Burr, who was basically a guy who works for the government. He didn't even work in data security. He worked just for some random US government tech agency. And back in the day, he wrote this white paper for the government about password security. And he didn't really know what he was doing. So it was like, yeah, you got to have all these complicated things. So like no one can crack your password. There is an amazing, please tell me I linked it. Open up the Gizmodo article. I'm pretty sure Gizmodo have a link to, or like a picture of the XCDC comic. If you just scroll down. So there's a great example. Like the title of this piece is like sorry, and it's like $0 and then registered trademark R and then the symbol for the yen.
Yeah.
So scroll down. There it is. Okay. So this explains this beautifully. And for people at home, I'm not going to read the comic and describe the whole comic to you, but just go look up XCDC passwords. Basically, it takes the whole thing and it explains why you don't need to have a crazy password with all of these numbers and letters in. Because essentially the whole matter of it is computers can crack. It doesn't matter. They're if you've got the password here, they give the example of like Troubadour 83, but it's all crazy, like with symbols and numbers and letters and all of this stuff. And it has 28 bits of entropy, which I should have looked up what entropy meant, but I thought it was like decay or whatever. But basically, this password is super easy for a computer to guess. They'll crack it 3 days at 1,000 guesses a second. Then, if you just have a long password called correct horse battery staple is the example they give, just 4 random common words together, just because it's so much longer, it has 44 bits of entropy, and it means it would take 550 years for the same computer doing 1,000 guesses a second to crack that password.
Bill Burr, I want to punch you in the face.
Well, so Bill Burr, there's a great quote here. He says, in the end, the list of guidelines was probably too complicated for a lot of folks to understand very well. And the truth is, it was barking up the wrong tree. So he's like, yeah, this was all completely unnecessary. And I'm really sorry.
But they still stand by their guns today and they tell you to...
No, they've changed it.
Have they?
Yes.
No.
Well, I mean, the security recommendations of the government have now changed to being like, use a passphrase. So correct horse battery staple is not a password, it's a passphrase. Or saying like, Simon and Sam make a podcast is a passphrase. It's super incredibly easy to remember and it's impossible for a computer to crack because it has so much entropy.
It's a lot of S's though. If it was a game of Hangman, it'd be easy.
That's true, yeah. Dude, didn't we talk about in a previous episode, jazz?
We did, we did.
If you've not listened to our previous episode, jazz is the hardest word to guess in Hangman, statistically. Anyway, The whole point of this is don't do it.
Don't do what?
Most websites these days don't force you to use all this crazy shit. Apple do because they're dicks. But most websites, they're just like, enter a password. It's got to be, over 8 characters long. So you can use correct horse battery staple. Even these password managers, they'll be like, yeah, your password's a bit weak. And then you put like a $sign in and it's like, powerful.
Boom. Very strong.
Like, is that even true? I don't think that's true.
No, I don't think it's true because ultimately it's just another symbol that you have to cycle through. So basically, like the way I'd understand it is that these, like, as far as I understand, the hackers that like have systems running that are constantly trying to break passwords, they just bombard it. They bombard it with guesses.
There's
and
a
guesses
couple of
and
options.
guesses.
They could do this, which is just a brute force attack, which is where it's just try thousands of guesses. They can also do a dictionary attack, where they'll just run through every word in the dictionary.
Aha.
So this isn't actually basing it off a dictionary attack. So I guess, but even still, every single word in the English language in every single order,
with every single variation of every single letter and symbol.
No. Because then that's when we're talking about the previous start. If we're just doing passphrases, there are no variations. It's all like lowercase.
But what if you do
alphabet?
What if with correct horse battery staple, you do then put zeros in as O's?
Yeah, but then we're getting into the pain in the arse territory again. Anyway, use the passphrase. It's better if you can. Also, just use a password manager, guys. Like, really, get Dashlane. Also, so that was the PSA, and humans are absolutely terrible at being random, right? It's a big problem, like lotteries and stuff. Even with the big machine, they're like, how do we make this truly random? Like, everything has to be just so perfect and all of this stuff, and we're just terrible at it. So people say, and if you're like choosing words, you'll still be terrible at choosing words that are truly random.
Yeah.
So what they say is you get a big list of words, you go to a website, I think that Gizmodo article links to it, and it will give you like a random list of words. Then you get some dice and you roll the dice and you choose whichever, you're like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You pick that one and you're like, okay, that's word number 1. Roll it again. That's word number 2. And you get your 4 words for your passphrase. And that's like a way to get something that's, well, it's never going to be truly random, because even then, maybe the dice is a little bit biased. Maybe even the random generator that has picked those words, it's going to be really hard for that to be like algorithmically unbiased. I think, not an expert, but I think because computers suck at randomness as well. Everyone sucks at randomness.
I don't think randomness is really a thing. I think it's not even a real concept.
I think it is, and I'm getting really out of my depth here, but isn't there something in quantum physics? Because Newton believed that everything would, if you had enough information, everything was predictable. And then quantum physics came along and was like, actually, it's not quite true. But I'm well out of my depth now.
Tell us more, Simon.
Yeah, no. Let's just move on before people in the comments are like, Simon's dumb.